Light of Asia influenced him to author a book called The Buddha and His Dhamma. And he later became a Buddhist and worked for Buddhist revival in India. Then Winston Churchill. I know Indians don't particularly like Churchill, but Winston Churchill was greatly influenced by Light of Asia, who read this book in his young years. And Winston Churchill openly admitted that Buddha was the greatest philosopher world ever produced. That was the impact the Light of Asia had on world stage. Light of Asia, as I said, is a strong bridge between India and Sri Lanka. I must say, Your Excellency, we Sri Lankans, vast majority of Sri Lankans, have a very, very special place for India in their heart. Not because India is our nearest neighbor, closest neighbor, not because India is our big brother, not because India is the fourth largest economy, but because we follow the teachings of your greatest son, the Buddha. And we are the spiritual heirs to this great philosophy. And that is a strong bridge between India and Sri Lanka. And Colombo YMBA has worked tirelessly for 100 years to give life to this lifelong legacy, the living tradition we have. We have one more living tradition that we got from India, that is Theravada Buddhism. Sri Lanka is the oldest custodian of Theravada Buddhist tradition in the world. And India has never challenged that position. India, of course, has invaded Sri Lanka many times, South Indian kingdoms in our history. But in recent times, India never invaded Sri Lanka as a nation. And we are so grateful to India for that. And I wish to convey Colombo YMBA's appreciation of the work India had done to build bridges between Sri Lanka and India. And please convey this sentiment to your government. So, for these young participants, the Light of Asia is not just a competition. You are also spiritual heirs to this great tradition. You can be proud that you took part in this competition. And today in this audience, we have many past winners who have come here to grace this occasion. Mr. Mohan Piris is one of them, and Mr. Lanarol, who is about 8 years old, is here with us. So like that, there are many winners, many past winners gracing this centenary celebration. So today we are not just celebrating a centenary of Light of Asia, but as I said, we are celebrating our lifelong legacy. And Colombo YMBA is working so hard to keep this lifelong legacy alive. And I thank all participants, past and present, for helping us and engaging with us to keep this lifelong legacy alive. Colombo YMBA, in its history, has worked tirelessly to achieve its purpose. In recent years, we have tried to understand what that true purpose is. Colombo YMBA's purpose is to bring about a politically, economically, and socially strong society. That is the purpose of Colombo YMBA. That is the purpose for which Colombo YMBA was set up. So actually, for the parents who are gathered here, I must tell you that when we ask your children to participate in this competition, we are not just trying to assess their talent in reciting these verses and explaining their meanings, but we are trying to mold them as future leaders of this country by helping them overcome stage fright, helping them improve their oratory skills. Colombo YMBA stands for strong political leadership in this country that can be developed only by nurturing these young children. That is the future leadership we are looking for. So, the Colombo YMBA has worked so tirelessly to achieve this purpose. And what we have to understand is we call ourselves a Buddhist country, and the Light of Asia is a strong pillar of the Buddhist heritage we have in this country. But we have to ask ourselves whether we can be happy to call ourselves just a Buddhist country. I think, in my opinion, Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country only in name, not in practice, because we haven't embraced the social, political and economic philosophy of Buddhism. And if we had properly embraced political, economic and social philosophy of Buddhism, Sri Lanka should have been a much more developed country. So, Colombo YMBA is trying to create this conversation today to educate people, especially about social dimension of Buddhism, what Buddhism means to the society, what are its true meanings, deeper meanings, which we are trying to disseminate by having workshops, programs, educational programs in the country. So, Colombo YMBA is standing up for a truly plural and prosperous Sri Lanka. That is the true purpose of YMBA. Now, today, Sri Lanka is facing a grave crisis. We have had many crises, but today we have a grave crisis. The impact of Ditwah cyclone on Sri Lanka is immense. And I think we are yet to come up with a proper assessment of what the damage is. And while the rescue and relief efforts are going on, in a matter of few weeks, people will realize rescue and relief efforts alone will not bring about stability in the country. We have to work tirelessly to achieve economic recovery, rehabilitate, reconstruct people's lives. So Colombo YMBA is embarking on a program to help people recover, help country recover. So for that purpose, we are moving forward to establish a fund to support our people, because recovery is the most important aspect in a crisis. So we have decided to establish a fund by contributing seed funding of 5 million rupees, and we will invite Sri Lankan brethren to contribute 100 rupees per month for 12 months. And we will establish this fund with a credible and a transparent mechanism to focus on 2 areas. One is restoring livelihood of the people who have lost livelihoods. Number 2, educational support for children. As you know, 10% of our population is affected by the cyclone, and 300,000 children are affected, and they will find it difficult to pursue their education. So we will come forward to help them in a long-term effort. But as a country, we need to understand whether we are in a position to come up with a credible, transparent, and efficient mechanism to deal with this disaster. In fact, I must say, Your Excellency, Mrs. President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumartunga, whom we affectionately call CBK, you tried to come up with a mechanism in the aftermath of tsunami, PTOMS, but you could not establish that mechanism due to legal, structural, and political challenges. But you had the wisdom to come up with that mechanism, try to establish that mechanism. In fact, this conversation came up a few days ago, and some people spoke of the wisdom you had then to come up with this idea of establishing a mechanism to support people's life by decentralizing the decision-making process. But Sri Lanka at that time, 20 years ago, was not ready for that. But whether we can reconstruct with that kind of a mechanism fast enough to restore the country economically and socially, only time will tell. But Colombo YMBA can't be just onlookers. We have to play our role. We need to play a role by helping our people in a long-term program. That is the role we have to play. And in that role, we cannot forget that Sri Lanka has to be re-established as a Buddhist country that will economically prosper. Because these calamities that happen every now and then should not be allowed to pull the country back. So we should be able to move forward. To move forward, we have to come together as civil society and help in this effort, because we cannot leave this only in the hands of the government. So we have a role to play, and we will give leadership in playing that role. So we will be mobilizing the people as best we could to undertake this relief effort, so that Colombo YMBA will play a meaningful role in the economic advancement of this country. Then we have to also mention that we need to have proper support, political and social support, as much as we seek religious support in carrying out this task. And we have to expect, or Colombo YMBA expects the help and the advice of the political leadership gathered here this evening, and also the civil society leadership in carrying out our task. In fact, I forgot to mention our Honorable Acting Chief Justice, Mr. Yasantha Kodagoda, is also here. I congratulate on behalf of the Colombo YMBA on your appointment today, sir. So we will definitely reach out to all of you to support us. So once again, Colombo YMBA's role is very specific. Colombo YMBA's role is to create this economically, politically, and socially prosperous Sri Lanka. That is the role cut out for YMBA. In a nutshell, if I try to explain this, now there is this discourse called Jata Sutta, a discourse on the tangle. Now, in short discourses of the Buddha, a Brahmin walks up to the Buddha and asks him, "Venerable Sir, or the Blessed One, people are entangled in a tangle. How do we overcome this tangle?" Then the Buddha says, yes, inner tangle and outer tangle. What is inner tangle? Desire, hatred, and delusion. Delusion is our inability to see things as they are. Our inability to think straight. See the right person as the right person. See the wrong person as the wrong person. Our inability to see that is delusion. And that leads to political, economic, and social tangle, which is called the outer tangle. So Colombo YMBA, how to untangle this? The Buddha says, only a wise, firmly established in virtue, develops his mind through concentration, only can untangle this. Now we have to ask ourselves, if Sri Lanka is entangled in this tangle, Sri Lanka is truly entangled in this tangle. We have tried to untangle this with the wise. We have tried to untangle this with the educated, but we cannot. But Buddha's word is we have to search for wise people to untangle this. I think the Western world captured and embraced this philosophy very well in developing their political and economic structures to develop their world. But we fail to do that. But we have a duty to take this message very strongly to the society so that people understand the true meaning of Buddhism. So we need to look for wise people, put wise people in charge of running the country. That is essential. And Western world, wittingly or unwittingly, did just that. In fact, sir, India is firmly established in Buddhist principles. When late B.R. Ambedkar came up with the basic structure of your own constitution, he followed Buddhist principles. And that is why India today is racing towards development, trying to become the third largest economy in the world. And we also should take that lead. Sri Lanka should develop economically as a very strong country so that we can secure the future of our young children. So, for the participants who have participated in this competition, I wish to congratulate all of you. I wish to congratulate the would-be winners today, and I hope Light of Asia will be a turning point in your life, because you have created a legacy and you have kept this legacy alive, a strong legacy, a living tradition that we have in Sri Lanka. So may the light of wisdom guide our young participants and our nation towards peace, harmony, and prosperity. May the noble triple gem bless you all, but I have a greater wish. May the noble triple gem bless my country, Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
You're watching the Life Traveler channel.